We're looking at choosing a method for solving quadratic equations. We've learned lots of methods. We've learned factoring, graphing, square roots, and quadratic formula. You can use an algebraic method using this kind of in this box here. So I actually like to look at the second bullet point first. Is there an x squared and an x? If so, we want to set it equal to 0 and try to factor it. If we want easy factoring. Okay, so if this is an easy way to factor it, we're going to factor it. If not, we're going to use the quadratic formula. If there's not an x squared and an x, then we're going to use square roots to solve our equation. So let's look at number 9. Number 1, it does not set equal to 0. So what we're going to do is we're going to minus 17 from both sides of the equal sign. We get 11x squared minus 3x minus 17 equals 0. Now looking at this, I have an 11 and a 17. Now 11 times 17 is going to give me a really big number. And if I'm trying to add them to get to -3, that's going to be pretty hard. It's really, if it looks like it's hard to factor, just go right to the quadratic formula. This one looks like it would be a quadratic formula one to me. So I'm going to write down my A equals, my B equals, and my C equals. A equals 11, B equals -3, and C equals -17. I'm going to use my quadratic formula. X equals -b. B is a -3, so -3 would give me a +3 plus or minus the square root of b squared. -3 times -3 is a +9 minus 4 times A is 11 times C is -17 all over 2 times 11. Now I want to simplify under the square root as well as underneath the in the denominator. So in the denominator, I have 2 times 11 is 22. I put that into my calculator and I get 757 under the square root. We're going to hit our fraction key. We have 3. We don't have the plus and minus sign, so first we need to put in a plus. Square root of 757 all over 22. This gives us a 1.39 if we round it to 2 decimal places. To get our second answer, we're going to just delete that plus, put a minus, and we get a -1.11 as our 2 answers. Now looking at 10, we have an x squared and an x. So we want to look and first see, does this easily factor? It looks like it might. There's not a number in the front, so this would be an easy blue. So let's just check to see if there are 2 numbers that multiply to 12 and add to 8. 1 and 12, 2 and 6, or 3 and 4. If I look at 2 and 6, those add to 8 and they multiply to 12. So that would be our easy factoring, easy blue. X plus 2, x plus 6 equals 0. Set each piece equal to 0 using the 0 product property. Remember, if you have 2 pieces that multiply to equal 0, then either x plus 2 has to equal 0 or x plus 6 has to equal 0. We minus 2 from both sides. X equals -2 minus 6 from both sides. And x equals -6. And those are going to be our 2 answers, -6 and -2. Looking at number 11, notice there's an x squared, but not an x. So we're going to use square roots to solve this. If you're using square roots, you want to get the squared part all alone. We're going to do that by minusing 8 from both sides of the equal sign. We divide by 3. And we have x squared equals 8. The opposite of square is square root. Take the square root of both sides. And when we're the one who put a square root on both sides of the equal sign, we're going to take a plus or minus. Plus or minus, we're going to break down the 8 as 4 and 2 and 2 and 2. We have a group of 2's that come out front with a square root of 2. So we have 2 squared of 2 and -2 squared of 2 as our 2 answers. Looking at number 12, we don't have an x squared and an x, but we do have the squared part right here. We want to get that alone. We're going to start by adding 2 to both sides of the equal sign. Divide by 4. We're going to do the opposite of squared, which is take the square root of both sides. We want to add in our plus or minus sign. The square and square root cancel, and I get x plus 2 equals plus or minus square root of 1 is a 1. Now this gives us 2 equations. We have x plus 2 equals 1 and x plus 2 equals a negative 1. We minus 2 from both sides of the equal sign. X equals negative 1. Minus 2 again from both sides, and we get x equals negative 3.